Well, the United States is now at war with Iran, and gas prices are going up. But here's what's interesting. They're not going up nearly as much as a lot of people expected. And that gap between what the market feared and what actually happened is actually a really important story right now. So today, let's break down what's going on with Iran, war, and oil prices, what this means for your wallet, and why some experts say this could still get a lot worse. First, let's set the scene. 4 years ago, when Russia invaded Ukraine, oil prices shot up roughly 50% in just a few weeks. We're talking north of $100 a barrel. Gas prices at the pump jumped from around $3.50 a gallon all the way to $5 a gallon. Fast. That war put about 3 million barrels a day of Russian oil at risk. Now, the war with Iran has effectively stopped the flow of around 20 million barrels of oil from across the Middle East, almost instantly. That is a much bigger number. And yet, on the first day of the conflict, oil prices rose just 6%. By Tuesday, oil was trading around $76 a barrel. Gas prices went up 11 cents to about $3.11 a gallon. So this raises a question. Why hasn't this been more dramatic? Here's the first big reason. Who started it? Russia launched its war in Ukraine. The United States launched this one. And that difference actually matters a lot to oil markets. When Washington starts a conflict, Washington can also end it. Analysts are pointing out that President Trump could, at some point, declare victory and pull back, whenever the political moment calls for it. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said something on Monday that sent oil futures down from their earlier highs. He said, quote, "This is not Iraq. This is not endless. This is the opposite." That kind of language signals a limited conflict. And limited conflicts tend to produce limited oil price spikes, at least in the short term. The second reason is crude oil supply. You know, back in 2022, the world was coming out of the pandemic. Energy demand was climbing fast and supply was tight. That is not the situation today. OPEC Plus, that's the organization of the petroleum exporting countries and its allies, spent most of 2025 ramping up production. That added to what analysts call a supply glut, meaning there's actually more oil out there than the world is currently using. Tom Closa, an independent oil analyst, put it plainly. He said, "There's plenty of crude oil out there. There's more crude oil than there is demand for it." That cushion is one reason Iran war oil prices haven't gone haywire yet.
But here's where things get serious, folks. Some experts are saying this conflict actually poses greater risks to global oil supply than Russia's war in Ukraine ever did. Here's why. Iran is not the only producer affected. U.S. allies in the region, including Kuwait, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil exporter, have all seen attacks on their own oil infrastructure. That is a significant development. And then there's the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow channel just off Iran's southern coast. 1 out of every 5 barrels of oil on the entire planet passes through it. And right now, tanker traffic there has essentially ground to a halt. Ship operators and maritime insurers don't want to risk sailing through an active war zone. According to S&P Global Energy, about 60 tankers per day typically move through the Strait of Hormuz. On Sunday, that number dropped to just 5. Jim Burkhard, who heads crude oil research at S&P Global, wrote that this war has the potential to be the largest oil supply disruption in history, if those oil flows remain disrupted. That is not a small warning.
Now here's what makes gas prices 2026 a unique challenge for the government. Back in 2022, when gas prices surged after the Ukraine war, the U.S. government released a record 180 million barrels from something called the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, or SPR. Think of the SPR as America's emergency oil savings account. It's stored in underground salt caverns in Louisiana and Texas. That release helped bring prices back down fairly quickly. But here's the problem. Today, America's SPR is about 30% smaller than it was in February 2022. It's been drawn down significantly and hasn't been fully replenished. And according to a source familiar with White House plans, tapping the SPR is not currently under consideration. So one of the main tools used to fight a gas price spike in 2022 is less available, and apparently not on the table right now. So what does all of this suggest going forward? Well, the market is currently betting that this conflict stays limited and short, and that's why oil prices today haven't exploded the way some feared. But several analysts are raising serious concerns about what happens if the war drags on. Bob McNally, president of Rapidan Energy Group, made a striking comparison. He pointed out that over the past 7 years, there have been multiple moments where a geopolitical scare threatened oil prices, and then faded. He called these boy who cried wolf moments. But, he said, if Iran stays in the fight, this is going to be an authentic energy crisis, the likes of which we haven't seen in modern times. This could be the big one. That phrase, the big one, is worth sitting with. Here's my honest take on all of this. The gap between how bad this could be and how markets are reacting right now appears to come down to one word: duration. If this conflict wraps up quickly, gas prices 2026 may stay elevated but manageable. If it stretches on, if the Strait of Hormuz stays disrupted, if allied oil infrastructure keeps taking hits, the situation could shift dramatically. Angie Gilda from KPMG put it well. She said the strategic reserves and rerouted cargo are stopgaps, and the critical variable is how long this lasts. For everyday Americans already dealing with a high cost of living, that uncertainty matters. Iran war oil prices are already moving. The question is, how far and how fast? This is a story that is going to keep developing, and it's one worth watching closely. If this breakdown was useful to you, consider subscribing so you catch our next update as this situation evolves. Drop a comment below. I'm curious what you're seeing at the pump in your area.